this is actually very, very meaningful moment for us. The whole idea behind the Grandmaster program, it's all about recognizing the people behind the world-class surfaces. We realized that there are incredible professionals around the world solving very, very similar problems in completely different environments, but rarely having the opportunity to actually sit down and exchange their experiences. Brent Downs, Janne Lehto, Rodney McKeown, John McLoughlin, and Justin Sims. I would actually love to hear a story behind each one of you. If Brent, you would like to go first, where are you today and how you ended up there?
I'm at Otter Creek Golf Course in Columbus, Indiana, and we are in the midst of a rather large project right now. So it's a full gut and go, and it's been one of the more rewarding things I've ever been a part of. But how I ended up getting here is in the U.S., at least typical of how a lot of people started, is I went to college not sure what I wanted to do, and a golf course was my summer job. And then as the summers went by, I realized that's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. That you could make a career out of it. And what really drove the passion is I interned outside the U.S. It took me around the world. Then back to the U.S. at Augusta National. And I guess that's the story I'll tell is I met one of my mentors there. Unfortunately, as untalented as he is on this call. So, I'm going to get that one back here in a minute. But anyway, that place really opened up my passion though, and going overseas right before that, because I got to see both the top of the mountain in the U.S. and in a lot of ways the top of the mountain in the U.K., some of the places I visited. And that still, even though it's been 15 years ago, it still drives me now that you always represent that. And even now with Otter Creek, which is an upper middle class public, we have the opportunity with what we've been taught to do something really special. Now it's taken a lot of economic investment, but I mean, that economic investment doesn't matter without the people who are trained to understand what elite looks like and hopefully how to get there.
How about Janne? Would you like to go next?
Oh, I've been in the industry now 15, 16 years. So I started 2011 at the place I'm at the moment. So Hirsala Golf down south in close to Helsinki in Finland. And it was just a summer job after high school for me. I was really interested in biology, sports. So I played football or soccer for some of you. And then kind of something physical, outdoors work was something interesting for me. So it all kind of really clicked in this golf course management, golf course maintenance, and started studying that. So we can study in Finland. There's a vocational degree and a special vocational degree of course manager that took 3 years. And then an opportunity to go abroad kind of popped up. And there was this new school called Winston University that opened in Germany. So I left there. Then continued on for internship in McLoughlin in Scotland. So I was working there for a season, and then another 6 months in Australia at Woodlands Golf Club in the Sandbelt. And it's seasonal sport in Finland, 6-7 months what we play. So it's kind of ideal to kind of build up all those experiences before coming back here. So I knew the course manager was going to retire at this home club, and I saw that opportunity. And was kind of able to jump onto that. And in 2016, I started as a course manager here, so coming 10 years now. And at the same time, being a course manager, I've been kind of building the career by doing a bit of agronomist work for other golf clubs, so consulting for other golf clubs in Finland, and also chairman of the Greenkeepers Association in Finland, so kind of a triple role. And that's still ongoing. So obviously you can kind of lead from there that I don't have a family yet, just a wife. So no free time issues. Really, yeah. But it really kind of turned into a passion and kind of combining hobby and and work. So it doesn't really feel like a work for me. It's just good fun. Obviously, really exhausting sometimes, but really enjoy it.
Well, you are the head of agronomy at Hirsala Golf, but then also having your own consultancy, you've been continuously educating yourself. You have the Master Greenkeeper degree and the Certified Golf Course Superintendent. What still motivates you after all these years to all this continuous learning and development?
It probably comes down to the personality. Really want to be the best, want to kind of take the most out of it, and you can never stop learning. Like there's so much we can still keep going and educating ourselves, and there's new research coming out all the time, and we learn more and more. So I think that kind of keeps you in the loop when you know you can improve.
100%. Thanks, Janne. Rodney, how about you?
Yep. So currently I'm in Singapore. So it is. Came over to Singapore. Well, actually came over to Asia in 1997. So I did. So before that, I was working. Well, start from the start. I went to Marsco College. John probably knows that. In Preston, was with Martin Jones there and everything. Then done a couple of internships at the Wisley, then up at the Royal Burgess Golfing Society also. And I started working after that, was offered a job at Southport and Ainsdale, so which is just down the road from Royal Birkdale. So I worked at Southport and Ainsdale for a couple of years, and I had a Singaporean friend who we studied together, done the diploma together, and I was sent out. He came over for Christmas to me. My boss sent me out to rake frozen bunkers in the wintertime because he says, maybe there's some of the bunkers which are frozen, maybe there's some which is not, which is very typical of a links course also. So find the unfrozen bunkers and just rake them. So I went out, took the rake out, walked around the golf course, didn't find any bunker that was not unfrozen. So then I was complaining to my friend James or whatever, and then he just says, well, you know what, Asia, I think it's an up and coming place for golf and everything like that. Why don't you give it a try? And I was in the winter of 96. So then, yeah, I thought about it. And then just says, yeah, okay, I'll give it a try. So basically, I just told my boss or whatever, and he said, yep, I knew you weren't going to stay here too long. I worked there for about 2.5 years. He said, you were not going to stay here too long. Jumped on a plane, came over, and yeah, I found a job in Indonesia, actually. So from being a greenkeeper, I was offered the position as a golf course superintendent. And I just went, oh, I don't think I'm ready for this, because there's a lot more to being a golf course superintendent than just the name and everything like that. And so a very typical Chinese guy interviewed me from a hotel. He said to me, he says, all I want to know, do you know how to fix irrigation pipes? I just went, yes, I do. And then he said, okay, I'll give you a trial 3 months. If 3 months you pass, then I'll give you another trial for another 3 months. So total of 6 months. If you can't make it, then bye-bye. You said bye-bye, I'll say bye-bye. Okay. So basically what I found out afterwards is they were spending a lot of money on a contractor coming in to repair irrigation pipes. But the reason why the irrigation pipes were breaking is because the irrigation system was not set up properly. So whenever I found all this out, then I went and fixed the irrigation, like the central control and everything, reflow, do everything properly. There was less irrigation breaks. And so the boss thought this was great. So I stayed there in Indonesia for 7 years. Came over to Singapore, worked at National Service Resort and Country Club, and then I moved over to Sentosa Golf Club. So I was at Sentosa Golf Club for nearly 15 years there. So we done quite a few tournaments in that, worked with Andy Johnston, Director of Agronomy there, very good guy, an American guy, very well respected also. So yeah, me and Andy, over the years, we've built up a very good, not only boss and employee, whatever, but a very, very good friendship. So we have, so yeah, so he's looked after me a lot. We work very well together and everything. So yeah, we've done all the different tournaments where it's Live Golf, Singapore Open. We hosted the Barclays Singapore Open whenever I first came over, whatever. It was like a $8 million event, like 10 plus years ago. So it was quite a prestigious event, also European Tour event at the time. HSBC, currently the host HSBC Women's World Championship for another 2 years at the moment, and Singapore Open, and obviously Live Golf. Live Golf was always the weakest link in Live Golf Singapore was always the weakest link in Live Golf. So it was already decided 2 years ago that they would pull out of Live Golf Singapore. And now with Live Golf and everything that's happening, who knows what's going to happen with it all. So it is. It could be a godsend for Sentosa and for Singapore that we were not going to be renewed, and it wasn't going to be renewed. We already knew that like a year and a half ago. So yeah. So very interesting. Then on a twist to that, I was employed by Sentosa Golf Club, and currently I am not employed by Sentosa Golf Club anymore. So I'm not, because I have moved over to become basically the distributor of products for a company called Centaur over here, Centaur Asia Pacific. So I took that job on the 1st of May, actually. So now, what, 21 days ago? So I have, but I still am involved, obviously, in Sentosa Golf Club and everything. And yeah, I still go down a couple of times a week and whatever, and help the guys down there. And yeah, because we have a pretty good relationship with the staff, with everybody, and even with the new superintendent there also, Brent, who has come in from Vietnam. He's an Australian guy, but he came in from Vietnam. So yeah, so currently that's what I'm doing. And it's actually been very, very positive so far, because now I can get out and I can see all my friends in the golf course industry in Singapore and beyond Singapore, Malaysia, whatever. And I'm, at the moment, only concentrating on Singapore, but there's only a total of 12 golf clubs here. And basically the ones which are proper golf club, 18 holes, is probably 7 or 8, that's all. But it's been good to reconnect with everybody. Everybody has given me their support so far, and very happy to see me come out. And especially whenever I tell them, oh, well, you can try it like this, you can try it like that. Because, I mean, as you guys know, also being at a golf club, it takes up a lot of the time and everything. And we do keep in contact via WhatsApp or whatever. But for me to actually go out and see them at their own golf course, I haven't done that as often as what I would have liked to, or I didn't make the time to do it because I was just so involved at Sentosa Golf Club, Sentosa Golf Club, Sentosa Golf Club. So now I've sort of like taken a step back, looked at things like, oh, yes, it is good to go out and help them. And yeah, and so just to help the community here. So it is in Singapore and even in Malaysia also. And yeah, so that's where I am at this moment in time.
That's quite something. I remember that at Sentosa, you had the TR 365 tournament readiness 365 days a year.
Yep.
And that's quite a philosophy and an objective. How in the earth that was possible?
I mean, it's through hard work and dedication, and also as what we were talking about earlier, is about steering the team in the right direction. So you've got to treat everybody with different ways, basically. Some people, you have to be hard with them. Some people, you have to be soft with them. Some people, you have to be their friends, and other people, you don't need to be their friends to gain their respect also. Just what Brent was saying there too. So it's everybody is different, because you're dealing with human beings. Whenever the human factor, basically for me, what I have learned, especially being in Asia here now, is you're dealing with the human factor is a lot more than dealing with the non-human factor, whether it be grass or anything like that. So the human factor, you could be dealing with your staff, dealing with your boss, dealing with the finance department, dealing with suppliers, dealing with anything like that. That is a very, very big factor, more so than what actually dealing with the grass is. Because all the different products that we use now, there's a lot of new technologies that are coming on, especially from Australia now. We've got different fungicides and they're mixed together, 3 different fungicides mixed together. And so actually you're spraying one application to treat many, maybe 20 turfgrass diseases. But what disease is it that you actually have? The only way you know that is to identify it properly. And a lot of the guys over here, they don't actually identify it properly. They don't send their samples off for testing. They don't look at the data. There's now data, we're very data driven and everything like that. I mean, with the Soil Scout and everything, but data is a very, very big thing, but you've got to use it in the right way. So it is. Exactly. So what I hope to do is to help to show them. I mean, I've already started talking to 4 different golf courses here about doing soil tests, independent soil tests. So not to give them recommendations or anything like that, but just to let them see what actually is going on with their soils, instead of another fertilizer company coming in and saying they will do it for free, which happens over here. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Rodney. John, would you like to share about yourself?
Hi everyone, so I'm John McLoughlin. I'm course manager of Wallasey Golf Club. So lucky to have met Brent and Justin before, so we've got a little bit of a relationship already, and spent a nice day with Brent at Loch Lomond on his last trip to the UK. So we'll be catching up with Brent again next month. So I was actually similar to Rodney, so it was nice to hear some of Rodney's backstory there. So I also started my career at Moscow College under Martin Jones as well. So
okay.
And I'm from Liverpool area, which is also very close to SNA, where Rodney spent 2.5 years as well. So I played my golf at West Lancs, which probably Rodney will be familiar with. So I was a budding soccer player and golfer at a young age, and I reached the age of about 16, 17, where I decided I was going to stop playing football and try and make it as a professional golfer. So I had a relatively successful amateur sort of career, and come to the point where I needed to make a decision if I was going to sort of turn professional and go that way. And then I remember going to the Open Championship and watching Tiger Woods live for the first time on the range. And I think this was at St Andrews, I think, yeah, round the millennium. And spent a couple of hours watching Tiger Woods on the range and thought, right, I'm not going to be a golfer anymore. This guy's playing a completely different game to me. So Tiger Woods unfortunately dampened my dream of being a professional golfer. So I carried out my placements for sort of agronomy and course management at Gleneagles 28 years ago now. So it's quite nice that I've just spent the last 2 days at Gleneagles playing the courses and on an event there. So from doing my sort of apprenticeship at Gleneagles, I then spent, so that was my early 20s. I then spent the next sort of 30 years working on a lot of tour events, traveling to Australia, traveling to America. I wouldn't say I was like sort of fixed in a role. I was working for the DP World Tour, the Ladies Tour, and I was doing a lot of different roles. Some of that was staging, some of it was tournament support, some of that was in media. But it gave me a real good grounding for golf as a whole, holistically. And the one thing that my passion was and my interest was how elite teams and elite cultures get the best out of people. So after my sort of 10 years traveling, I went back to Liverpool and met my wife. So at that point, I then got settled back in Liverpool. So I took my first role as a course manager at the age of 32 at Warrington Golf Club, which was a relatively sort of small golf club in the outskirts of Manchester. There was a team of 7, and it was a real eclectic team of greenkeepers. We had people that had sort of mental health issues. We had people that were former drug and alcohol addicts, and it was a team of sort of real mixed age, and they weren't performing particularly well. And the golf club, in my interview, said, you know, you've done all this traveling, you've got a great grounding, but we've got a really strange bunch of greenkeepers, and we worry that you're going to be struggling to present a golf course with such a strange, eclectic group of underperforming greenkeepers. So I saw that as a massive challenge. And so I went to work then on everything I'd learned over the previous sort of 15 years of traveling the world and meeting really some cool individuals who had, leading the sort of the best teams in greenkeeping and the best teams in culture, really. So I set about it with my social experiment with these 7 greenkeepers in Warrington. I mean, 5 of them didn't even have any qualifications. So I set about sort of trying to inspire and motivate them. And I had this philosophy that I built in my mind over years of traveling, that when I get my own role as a course manager, I'm going to sort of trial this sort of social experiment on these greenkeepers. And so after 6 years of managing Warrington Golf Club, how we turned that team around and what they were able to produce was just mind-blowing. Just getting everyone engaged in one purpose. And so that was 6 years at Warrington, and then I got my role at Wallasey sort of 6 years ago, which was sort of a step up for me. It was a links course with huge potential. So I then tried my social experiment on the staff at Wallasey, and again I thought, I wonder if it was just a fluke at Warrington that this 6-7 guys just believed in me, and the people we had just was a bit of a fluke that we could achieve amazing things with people that didn't even have any qualifications. But after 6 years now at Wallasey, we've what I achieved at Warrington has now been replicated with the staff and the people there. So, for instance, my deputy at Wallasey has been at the club for 38 years. When I took over, a lot of people thought there's absolutely no way John and Lee are going to get on. There's going to be a clash of personalities. But my deputy is absolutely amazing. The whole team have really embraced this new culture and this new social experiment, and we're now sort of achieving like really exciting things. And my sort of 12 years of social experiments are really bearing fruit, and we're now being able to, by looking after the team members and having this inspired group, we're now really starting to create some amazing standards and sort of with social media and talking sort of, I do a lot of talking now on what we've achieved and how we've achieved that and the philosophies. So that sort of is almost shaping me now, sort of sharing some of my findings and hopefully spreading the word of looking after people and getting people engaged, working the best they can do individually. The collective then is, and the output becomes really special. So that's sort of what I'm passionate about. Obviously, I like the agronomy. I still like to play golf. I'm a +3 golfer, so I'm still pretty passionate about playing and visiting a lot of these great courses and meeting people and continually trying to revolve myself, my philosophies, and I read a lot of books. I listen to a lot of podcasts on leadership, and that sort of shapes me now. And I'm by far the finished article, and I'm constantly learning, evolving. How I was sort of not teaching us how I went into Wallasey 6 years ago. That I like to sort of reinvent myself every 3-4 years. So I'm going through a phase of reinvention now where I'm trying to grow and personally evolve and see how that sort of shapes the team as well. So, so it didn't take much breath there. I got so,
no worries.
Hopefully everyone understood that. Yeah. I've had 3 days drinking at Glen Eagles. And socializing. So I'm a little bit hazy at the moment.
No worries, John. No worries.
I still like socializing and meeting people, and I've just done 3 days non-stop of socializing. So I was at a gala dinner last night with free alcohol. So
yes.
But no, hopefully that gives everyone an insight and
that was perfect. And then last but certainly not least, half of the introduction was done by Brent already, but Justin, great to have you on board. Would you like to share about yourself and your career?
Hey, before he starts, I would like to disagree with I think he certainly is least.
Zip it down. Oh gosh. Jones wears those glasses to try and add 10 IQ points, which he desperately needs. But no, I've had quite the past, I guess. I grew up not too far from where Brent did, but I'm from Illinois, he's from Indiana. Grew up in a farming community and a lot of factory workers. And anyway, went to college, did like a lot of people, changed my major. I started as a history major, and then I changed it to horticulture. And then I've had quite the past. I'm in Arkansas now. This is the 8th state that I've lived in and working on golf courses. I've been as far west as San Francisco, as far east as a little bit outside of Atlantic City, New Jersey. I've worked at sea level, and I've also worked at 8,700 feet. Not sure the metric conversion on that, but I worked in the mountains in Colorado. And so I've kind of, I don't know, I've been all over the place. Had quite luckily my wife was pretty patient and was okay with following me around to do all this stuff. Luckily she was getting her master's for part of this as well. So odd fun fact about me, we actually lived the first 24 months we were married, we lived apart 18 of them. Just kind of chasing our dreams and our goals. And so, yes, Brent and I worked together at Augusta. I've been here 13 years now. I met the owner of Alotian at Augusta. He's a member there. His dad is actually a previous chairman at Augusta National. So they kind of built their own little oasis in Arkansas. And then I've been very fortunate to get to travel a little bit. Probably nowhere near as much as all of you have, but I spoke with Brent in England, and then I gave a talk in Portugal not too long ago, and then some years back I was in Japan, and that was maybe one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. But traveled all over the country teaching about bent grass, and oddly enough, they wanted me to talk about zoysia, which is somewhat ironic because zoysia originated over there. But so yeah, that's I run a very large operation. I probably have the weirdest job of anyone here. We are an extremely large property, and we got golf course management. We do landscape management. I got an equipment department. We do wildlife habitat research and like timber management work. And then I also oversee, I grew up and helped pay for college doing construction. So like welding and building machines and stuff like that. So I actually oversee our facilities department as well. So, all the buildings and everything that goes on with facilities management. And then we actually oversee some properties in town. There's some houses that we oversee. And then I got a putting green at Pebble Beach where my owner has got a house that he's one of the few people that still has a real, he hasn't switched to artificial turf. So he's got a bent grass, trying to keep the POA out of it, which is almost impossible in Monterey, California. But got a putting green over there that we help take care of, and just run around all over the place. So that's why my hair's so gray at my young age. I'm just all over the place, but it fits me good. You guys will learn I'm a very inquisitive person, sometimes to a fault, and unfortunately my attention span can kind of waver at times. It's almost like a 3-year-old. But no, it's a pleasure. I'm thrilled and honored to get to know all of you. Obviously I know John and Brent, but thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you for being here. I can see certain similarities between us, but let's have that talk another time. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, unfortunately, our sports representative Andrew Northheim couldn't make it today, but then let's see another occasion, hopefully in the near future. Let's switch gears a bit. We were thinking quite a bit what would be a suitable theme for this type of first meeting to be discussed, and obviously we spend a lot of time discussing with our customers and have been discussing with all of you guys, and one topic recently have been raised over the others, which is then kind of the theme on balancing playability versus resources. And that goes along over both sports and golf, that when obviously turf management is in highly demanding environments with many different constraints and high expectations from the players and other stakeholders. So next I would like to hear that how do you each personally think about balancing playability, growing expectations, staffing, inputs, budgets, and long-term turf health? And whoever wants to go first.
Well, I'll go first since I was the last. That's
fair.
Would say, well, I would just say that's somewhat it's a pretty relevant question to where we're at right now. So currently we're down about 40, I would say 45 to 50% of our crew, and we're down about 14,000 labor hours. Now, mind you, that's going to sound, some of the stuff I say is going to sound really weird, but as Brent will tell you, our property is gigantic. So some of these numbers are a little strange, but, one thing I think is very important is, we're getting by and the members are actually very, very happy. But I think one thing is you take your resources, and then you think about playability. But at the end of the day, really, as long as you're pouring the majority of your resources and you're putting them towards what matters the most to your members, like for us, obviously greens are a really big deal. Bunkers are a pretty large deal as well, but oddly enough here, fairways are a really hot button. And so even in the situation we're in right now, if we have good greens, bunkers that are, presented in a tidy manner, and then the fairways are really good to where the ball's sitting up on them. I say this jokingly, but I'm also somewhat serious. There could probably be a dead giraffe on the side of a hole in the rough, and no one would really care, because as long, at least in our particular membership and our owner haven't been here for as long, it's the greens are good, like a lot of courses, and then the fairways are really good. They don't really give a what about some of the other stuff. Now, I'm not saying the other stuff's not important, but I do think we're having to run that exercise right now. We had to run it during COVID, but I think that's where a lot of people lose sight of, is they focus on what they think's most important, which yes, we all have our expertise, but at the end of the day, you really got to focus on the people that are, signing your paycheck, what they think, or the people that are coming to play your course. If it's a public course, like, Brent, like what's most important to them. And that's going to, I think that's the best game plan, in my opinion.
Oh, that's interesting. How you see, Janne, how that reflects on your experience?
Yeah. Being up north, the winter is the biggest kind of hurdle for us, and we kind of balance everything through that. Trying to come out from the winter as good as possible. That affects the most. If you're good after the winter, all the feedback is going to be good from the players. So trying to get the plant healthy going into the winter and do our best. whatever the winter kind of throws at us. So that's the main thing we kind of work with. And then the other thing is the high amounts, high volumes of play. So 6 months we play just less than 40,000 rounds. So it gets really busy as well. So that's another thing that we need to balance. But I'm kind of really similar as what Justin was saying. Just having the greens and fairways, especially the greens in Finland, you can get kind of going with that. That's what the people's or our players. We are public course, but still being one of the higher end clubs in Finland. So we need to justify the quality and the cost all the time. So just having the greens play right, that's kind of key as a quality for us. And to have enough our resources on the course, we are on average like 13 people, I would say 13, 14 people on a course. And we do we have an ongoing master plan projects on the course that we do in-house. So that takes about 50% of my stuff. So it's just setting up the course all the time. But what gives us the flexibility is the robotics at the moment. So we have fully automated everything else but the greens. So we can put all our setup volume on cleaning up the site and setting up the greens to be right. And then the rest of the team can be left on the projects and be improving the site over a long time.
I'd say that's quite an achievement. How about the others? You see the same happening, Brent?
I think with us, it's, and again, I'm going to go back, I'm careful how much. I'm not Justin. I don't walk on water at Augusta National, so he can say whatever he wants. Some of the rest of us have to watch out for our NDA. But anyway, one thing that place taught me that I'm still carried with me, and it's the disruptor. And yeah, I agree with both what Justin and Yanni said, but it's almost understand that you look at it through the point of the golfer, notice what they notice, and then keep punching that target repeatedly. That's consistency to me is the single best thing you can do. And here's for example, at Harrison Lake, I can't remember the last time we cut all 18 pins that wasn't a tournament. Some of those greens are smaller, blah, blah, blah. And you can save time by understanding, what fairways give you the most trouble with disease. And Yanni, like you and I, are invested in some of the same technology with both Soil Scout and with Maya. I rely on that quite a bit, as it's grown to understand where I'm going to have problems and spend my resources in those areas, because there are certain fairways, certain greens, certain whatever that they're pretty healthy. And so know where your spots are and know what the golfer is going to see. If they don't see that hot spot, on the beginning of 4 fairway, if they've never commented on it, then you probably don't need to send a whole lot of hand waters there. It'll be fine. Things like that, just understanding where your value is and then punching that target repeatedly.
That makes sense. Any thoughts, John or Rodney?
I think for me, and I suppose it's in any industry really, you've got to be careful with over-promising and under-delivering. So I prefer to under-deliver, under-promise and try to over-deliver. So I think a lot of people fall in the trap where they make commitments and promise things that they can't just deliver. So I think it's far better the opposite way and communicating that. So if you can over deliver and overachieve, then you're in a far better place rather than over promising. So I think I come at it where we have a vision which we can communicate and then hold people accountable to that vision, which means that you can set the benchmark on what you want to achieve, and then expectation becomes part of that really. So I think it comes back to communication and communicating with the members, the visitors, and if you can overachieve and people come to your property and they're not expecting standards and they go, wow, God, I wasn't expecting this, then you're doing a good job. And you have to sort of communicate now. You might have to, I certainly it's not something that I really want to do, but I do a lot of sort of podcasts and videos and communications to the membership via WhatsApp groups, and a lot of that is trying to not overpromise. It's keeping people's expectations aligned with mine. So I think a lot of my job is communicating expectation and then managing that.
Rodney, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with everybody says. Every golf course has its own unique scenarios and situations and everything like that. So it is, but just as what John was saying, yeah, it's all about communication and how you communicate it. I mean, you have to communicate it in the right way also, but yeah, but what everybody said, I mean, definitely here, especially, I mean, in Singapore, it's Sentosa. I mean, going around now, seeing the different golf courses and opening up even the superintendent who's been there for the last 10, 15 years or whatever. And then I asked him, so why are you doing it like this? Well, because that's the way we do it. Well, what about if you were to try it another way? Oh, okay. Or focusing on a different area rather than this area. So the guys might be focusing on the rough because it's wet, because there's tire marks there. I said, well, why not block off the rough and go and focus on the fairways? Something like that. So yeah, I mean, every place is very, very unique, not only in the world, but on our each individual areas. So it is, and every superintendent has got different ideas, and every member of staff has also got different ideas, which is what John was saying. It's all about communicating also back to the staff and what's expected of them and everything like that. Is what you were saying, Sentosa. We talk about tournament ready 365. Is it really tournament ready 365 days of the year? Of course it's not. But the expectation that we try to instill into the staff, if they see a weed, pick it up. They see a stick, a hazard stick, a simple thing like that that's leaning, go and fix it straight. It's just simple things like that.
Speaking of the consistency, and obviously this group represent very different type of conditions. But where you see the biggest challenge of keeping up with the consistency, and how much you balance between your instinct and experience versus data and technology?
For me personally, now, okay, we're all in the same boat now. Technology is taking over the whole world, whether it be AI and all these different algorithms and everything like that. So we have got to embrace the technology. And through technology, we can have more data. It's all on what you do with the data also. So that's where your experience will come in. And whenever you get certain information on how you translate that information and how you're going to use that information to make a better decision than maybe if you didn't have the data. So there's still a lot from what I see personally. Also, go around the golf course every morning. So you look at your individual greens. I don't need to drive around 36 holes to know where the problem greens are. I already know the greens. If I haven't got enough time, I've only got 1 hour, 2 hours in the morning time, I go to specific areas. You go to a good green. Yep, great. You always go to your worst greens. Always have a look at the worst greens. And then you know, how will the rest of them look like? How will the rest of them feel over both sides? And sometimes there's a lot, like the weather right now in Singapore. It has been hot it was hot there for nearly 2 months, lack of water, everything like that. Now the rains are constant every single day, but it's hot rains, so it's very humid, very tropical rains or whatever. So there's issues. I can see it, and actually looking at other golf courses just these last couple of days or whatever, Pythium blight is kicking off, Pythium root rot's kicking off, pink patch is kicking off also in the paspalums also. So a lot of that, whenever I ask the guys, oh yeah, we had this problem, but they haven't actually identified it properly. So they don't actually know. And then now I'm able to share pictures with them of the problems that we have at Sentosa and say, does this look like the same thing? Yeah, this looks like the same thing. It's probably pink patch. Let's take the sample, send it off, get it identified properly so you can treat it properly. So technology and your instincts, it's a combination effort also. Yeah. So it's not just one or the other. So it's not, but having all the different data and everything, it does make a very, very big difference. So it does. I mean, even like now with the oxygen sensors and everything, I mean, as well been told, the oxygen levels in our greens are very, very consistent. They don't fluctuate a lot or whatever compared to some other places, or whatever. Obviously, because we switch on the subber for 10 minutes or 15 minutes every single hour, day and night, hot. We don't really have any cold here, although now it's like 23 outside, but that's the coolest it will get. But yeah, but day and night, it's always cycling through that cycle. So it is, and the oxygen levels are always very consistent there, whereas some other places, they're not.
Yeah, that makes sense. When technology is used properly, it's obviously a major help. Unfortunately, everyone don't have the same capabilities than the others do. How about the others? Justin, how you work with your consistency?
I'm probably, I don't know. We use technology. I do preach. I think there's an art and a science to what we do, and I do think that while the technology is good, it's like I always tell the young guys, like if you only check greens with a moisture meter, I mean and all is like numbers, and how do you even know like what it feels in your hand, like if you take a probe and and how long the roots are, and if it's measuring X number, like what's that like, and what's that feel like in your hand? And so I think it's good to balance the two. The big thing with us in technology, we use quite a bit of it, but at the same time, it's kind of like, if we're going to use something, like I want to use it. I don't want to just get it and have it just to have it. So we have the Soil Scouts. They're critical for running our hydronics that we have on our greens. We use the USGA Deacon ball. We messed with it last year, and then we ended up converting everything over to it this year because it just eliminates. I mean, there's several reasons to use it. It kind of puts everything in one silo, which is really good. You can have moisture, green speed, firmness, everything just on one dashboard. So we use that. We have our own in-house GPS unit. We do have a drone that we use. I'm not big into the heat recognition stuff with the drones. I mean, I think it's fine, but I also think that like I can just look at something and tell you, like I don't want to invest that much money. I mean, we checked in it, but it would be like $40,000 for us to have our own drone capable of all the heat recognition technology. So I don't know if that's worth it necessarily for us. So we don't have that, but the technology we use the most is labor tracking, and part of that is just because I find that labor tracking of all the technology there is the best way to help with what we talked about with resources and expectations, because you have data that you can just present. And if they say like, well, what if, like, for instance, I got asked my first year here if we could mow fairways one direction, and there I had to go through some explanation of why we couldn't do that, or we could do anything really, but what helped out a lot is I could just put it into labor hours. Like, yeah, we can do that, but this is how long it's going to take, and this is how much money it's going to take to do it that way. So I find labor tracking for us, in my particular situation, everyone's situation is different, to be by far and away the most useful form of technology that we have. And we were one of the first probably 10 clubs in America to use the advanced scoreboards. So we've been using it for, like 12 years, I guess, something like that. Yeah. Those are the way. We use other technologies, don't get me wrong, but if we're going to get something, like I actually want to like use it not just have it around. And like we got a microscope. We use it like once a year. Probably shouldn't even bought it, but we you know what I mean? Like, I don't want things to end up like the microscope that we have.
Then if we, having that said, and this is for everybody, of course, if we do a very quick round, that what would you think that will be the biggest changes happening in turf management and overall golf course maintenance within the next 5 to 10 years?
The big one that doesn't have anything to do with technologies, I think one of the big ones is there's a massive supply and demand imbalance when it comes to people to do jobs. Especially in the United States, people were told forever, like, you need to go learn to code, is like a jokingly thing people say. Well, that's kind of pointless now because you can do it with AI. So we went through a phase where there were turf programs or plant science programs that, like, they had no one in them, and so whether it be our industry, electricians, mechanics, carpenters, there's a huge shortage, which I think is going to drive, some automation. But at the end of the day, I think one scary thing is there's a lot of people getting jobs that clubs are desperate and people think it's great, but at the end of the day, they're probably getting in over their head and they're setting themselves up for failure. So I that's what concerns me a lot with our industry. It's just there's a massive supply and demand imbalance.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm going to touch on something Justin said, and he knows I'm very forward on this. I think AI is the biggest change over the next 5 or 10 years, but maybe not always in the way you think. Not only with our turf management softwares such as a Maya and Soil Scout, but I also think where it really comes into play is, I believe communication had come up, and especially with you, John, what you had talked about. I think that's the single most critical thing. People want answers and they want them now. And none of us have time to sit down and chop out 20 emails or Canva all our infographics, building them piece by piece. That's where, especially in my own role with the construction, AI has already changed in how fast I'm able to take a picture, describe something, and get it out to the contractor back in the field or something like that, what I'm looking for. And I think that is going to do nothing but continue to grow. And I'll even piggyback back to the data question. Is our own experience is just data, but it's data processed by the brain. But we weren't born with that golf course experience. We learned it over time. So it's data, it's just data in a different way. But what I hope is that if AI is done correctly, it allows us to have all the information we need, because sometimes we have to make decisions with incomplete information. We do it all the time. It's what we do. What I hope is that between AI and technology, it begins to fill that gap and filter out the information we don't need to make our decisions. And in some ways we have to train that, but be able to give us all the info we need in front of us. Here's the info. And it just allows us to make more informed decisions. Not always going to be better, because I make 10 mistakes a day, usually before 7 a.m. But at least I will make bad decisions with better info.
Wow. How about you, Janne? What do you think? What's going to shape the future?
Yeah, I'm kind of following Brent here. I think the same. And we already seen that quite heavily being integrated into the course management. But I think from that point of view, that we can properly engage our staff and have them making the better decisions by being more automated and using the AI to make those decisions. Doesn't necessarily have to come back to me or my assistants, but the individuals can be working more efficiently and making better calls on the course. I think that's going to be something that's going to happen, especially that we are kind of away from that operator world now. You're already using the robotics, so I want all my staff, and we also demand more from them, demand better decisions, and they can run into those positions that they need to make decisions more often than what they used to. So I think that's going to be a big change.
I am well, obviously that's going to shape the whole world massively. Like Justin said, that we will see a shortage of staff in multiple different industries, especially where the traditional hands-on work is needed. But then on the other hand, that's part of the Grandmaster's program, that how we get to highlight this kind of a work, attract new talents for this industry, for this work, and then hopefully closing also that gap by then having all that data technology and all these advances of AI involved. Speaking about building the community, if we genuinely build this into a valuable peer community, what would make it worthwhile for you? I'm offering you a few options that obviously we would like to keep the conversation within this group ongoing, whether that's then having a similar roundtable sessions like this, or then a joint WhatsApp group, possible site visits in the future, and certain topics about problem-solving sessions, or then sharing failures and challenges. And one thing that we've been discussing is to have a in-person Grandmaster meeting, and then possibly inviting ourselves to Wallasey and Liverpool, which would be then quite central location, thinking of different people from different directions. So anyway, John has a pretty unbelievable links course he's managing, and of course pints and football, which, well, soccer, if you may, and there's Everton, there's Liverpool. It should be rather easy to travel from all directions. So how does that sound for you?
Yeah, I'd love to host everyone at Wallasey. Obviously, I've travelled a lot, but I'm really proud of Liverpool and the city and how it's really growing, and tourism is so fantastic, and it's such a great place. So I think with me being from Liverpool and being so proud, I think for me it'd be amazing to host people and show them what we're doing. And I think in the group we've got people with such great sort of stories, and everyone's got their own sort of skill set that I think, you know, it would be nice to hear everyone sort of present a little bit to the team, so we could all learn off each other, and everyone's got like unique skill sets and topics they can talk about. And I think I'm part of other groups, sort of mentoring groups, and sometimes it becomes heavy with certain people, but I think we're in a group where everyone's can, you know, influence each other, which I think is really powerful.
Absolutely. So what do you guys think, how often we could have similar type of discussions, whether that would be on a monthly to quarterly basis? Any suggestions?
Yeah, I'm often shy for an opinion, as Justin well knows. So, one, I think you're actually right on all three counts. My only problem is I really don't like traveling to the UK, and I don't do it very much. So I knew that'd pull something from John. Yeah, no, I love the Liverpool area, but I seem to keep ending up in it. But anyway, I like actually all three, Jalmari. I think you set up either bi-monthly or quarterly. I like either one. I think monthly, you could do monthly. You just may not get everybody every time, and you may not get
exactly.
that. But I love the WhatsApp group too, because we have group chats here all the time of, hey, somebody got a question, or hey, you dealing with this, and you set it up, people can contribute as they want to. But yeah, I love the idea of travel trips. That's part of, I think, what brings all of us together. And especially if not only these trips are, and I think I said this in something else I sent you, Jalmari, but also if they come with some kind of either cultural, like, you know, what besides golf could we go see and do in that area? What's something that brings the history, just so it's not all, you know, we get something rounded out of the trip as well, because hey, we're only here for a certain amount of time. I mean, I know after BTME, Justin and his wife went over to Ireland and did some of the historical tours and just had a blast. So anything that can get like a 75-25, in my opinion, I'd eat that up myself.
That's very good. That's very good. I guess if no one disagrees, then we start planning the program and planning the timing for the Liverpool meeting. I honestly think this conversation confirmed exactly why we wanted to create this group of professionals. And the fact that despite completely different climates and regions, many of the challenges and especially the philosophies are surprisingly similar in your way of working. And I think there's enormous value us creating more opportunities for conversations like this between people who truly understands the realities of this profession, and then hopefully attract future talents for this industry. So thank you again for taking the time. Thank you for joining the community. This was genuinely special for us, and hopefully only the beginning of something very beautiful and journey.
No, thank you. It was a real
cheers,
pleasure.
everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, Rodney. Thank you, John.
Lovely
Thanks,
to meet
Justin.
everybody.
Yep.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Janne.
cheers.
Thanks,
Good to
Brent.
meet you all.
Okay.
All the best.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Talk to you
See
soon.
you on WhatsApp.
Yep. See
See
you all
that.
soon.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.